We come together to celebrate Veterans Day and honor those who have served our nation over the years. In just a moment, we will welcome in our area veterans as they process into the field house, led by the Oconto Falls Area Veterans Monument Honor Guard. To please rise and remove your caps as the Oconto Falls High School Band plays the National Ensemble March and the Honor Guard brings in our veterans. Please give them a warm welcome. At this time, we would ask that everyone please remain standing while Mrs. Ann Lauder, President of the American Legion Auxiliary Michigan Unit 543, leads us in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the singing of our national anthem by the Oconto Falls High School Choir.
Please put your hands over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We
Please be seated. And for honoring God for being our program off to such a good start. Several years ago, I read an excellent book called The Road to Character by David Brooks. In the first chapter, laid the groundwork for the message of the book, a message that really stood out to me and very much applies today as we honor the service of America's veterans over the years. The author described listening to some old radio broadcasts from the day after Japan surrendered to end World War II. Some of the most well-known and important people of the time were talking about the end of the war. Here are a few passages from the book that describe these broadcasts. America and its allies had just completed one of the noblest, most significant military victories in human history, and yet the tone of the time was one of humility. There was no excessive celebration. Their first instinct was to remind themselves that they were not superior to anyone, that they needed to guard against excessive pride and self-glorification. In victory, they were more grateful than proud. And they understood that they were a part of something that was far greater and more important than themselves as individuals. That was the culture of the times in 1945. The author then goes on to talk about tuning into a modern day football game on TV, and a player was tackled after a very short game, and the defensive player immediately got up and started beating his chest and dancing around and celebrating. And this next line was what really caught me. The author realized he had just witnessed more celebration after a 2-yard gain than he did after the United States had won World War II. And my point in sharing that piece of the book is that the veterans here today, and all those that have served in the past, really understand those ideas of humility and sacrifice, of thinking of something beyond yourself to be a part of the greater good. Over the decades, our culture has become more inwardly focused in many ways on individualism than in the past. And while that's not always entirely a bad thing, it's on days like today, Veterans Day, when we have an opportunity to remind ourselves that there are ideals that are greater than ourselves. And we need to never lose sight of that fact. So in closing, to our veterans, please know how grateful we are for your service and your commitment to those greater ideals of sacrifice and duty and contributing to the greater good. We will always be in your back. Thank you. Student Speaker, Senior Representative Clayton White.
Staff and our veterans that are able to join us today. I want to say thank you to all veterans for what they did to protect our country. This day means so much to me and even more to my family. As a great grandson to a World War II veteran, Veterans Day holds a special meaning to me. It's a day in which we honor the men and women who served in the armed forces of our great nation. My great-grandfather would tell me stories of his experience at the Battle of Normandy. He was a medic in the Army. He would tell stories about the sleepless nights underneath the tanks and the cold and hunger he experienced. He was proud to have the opportunity to serve for his country. Now I'll be putting the main focus on the history of Veterans Day and how it all started. On the 11th hour, 11th day of the 11th month, in 1918, fighting ceased in what was then known as the war to end all wars. For this reason, November 11, 1918 is generally regarded as the end of the war to end all wars, and thus that day we now celebrate Veterans Day. Now it was not always known as Veterans Day, nor it always observed on November 11th. Today, I would like to share a bit of the history discovered on the history of Veterans Day. It all began on the year anniversary of 1919 of the end of fighting in the Great War. As it was also known for at the time, and of course known as World War I, President Woodrow Wilson celebrated the first Armistice Day. Armistice Day was originally observed to remember all those who fought and died in World War I. It was named this because the armistice represented the stoppage of war. In 1938, an act approved that designates November 11 an annual legal holiday known as Armistice Day.
Faculty, staff, shout out to the band. You guys sound great this morning, by the way. Shout out to Miss Steele and the choir. You guys both sound wonderful. Thank you for being here. Shout out mostly to Emerson Rice and the rest of you students out there. I'm going to flip the script on you this morning. First, veterans, I'd like you to take a look at the stands behind you. Just turn around and take a look at these kids. Yeah, you can wave that. That's okay, man. Let them know that you're not statues back there. I'm going to flip the script on you guys this morning because you might think you are here for us, but we are actually here for you. When we look at you, and I have been turned around to look at you because we see the future sitting back here. To me, the future looks pretty bright. We're here to give you, the veterans are here to give you a glimpse of what hard work, dedication, can pay, how it can pay off, and what it can do for you. But you guys actually have an example of that every day here at your school because you see your teachers. Your teachers are an example of hard work, of dedication and commitment to you. And each of your teachers has an extended college education, so give them the respect that they deserve. Listen to them because they know what they're talking about, and they are here for you. They have your best interest in mind. Dedication, hard work, sacrifice. Now, I'm wearing Air Force blue this morning, but I actually started out in the Army. Who out of the Army guys out here? I went to basic training in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri in none of your business, but 1970. I went active duty in the Air Force, and I got to travel the world and look at some of the places that you heard about earlier. I was actually in the Air Force band, so that's a special shout out to that band over there. I want to quickly share some of the things that I learned and picked up along the way that have made a difference in my life and helped shape who I am. I want to briefly share some ideas that you can take away with you this morning. I want to talk about some things that you can take out of here, because when you hear about an event like this, you should say, well, what am I going to get out of this? I mean, besides getting out of class and getting out of school for a little bit, what can you take away and actually maybe apply to your life? So now, I joined the Air Force. When I joined the Air Force out of the Army, a couple of things that they talked about. The first things they talked about were the Air Force core values. I don't know if you've ever heard that word before, but core values, think of them as the building blocks for what you do and how you run your life and how you make the decisions in your life. Every business, every school, the military, most families, and every individual has their set of core values, whether you know it or not. I'm going to talk about that more in a second. The Air Force breaks it down into three parts, and I want to share those with you. I want you to hear these, and I want you to see if you can apply some of them to your life and some of the ways that you make your decisions in your life. Three core values of the Air Force. The first one is called integrity first. Now, the word integrity, we maybe throw that around, it's not a word we hear very often, but the word integrity means, simply put, what do you do when no one else is watching? Now, we might think of that on an individual basis, but it's also on a group basis. What does your group do? In fact, think about it like this. What does your classroom do when your teacher's not watching? What does your classroom do when your teacher walks out of the room? Is that the time to throw stuff around, or do we actually do the thing that she or he asked us to do when they walk out of that room? So it's how you act. And, synonyms for the word integrity: honesty, responsibility, accountability, self-respect, and respect for others. It means telling the truth all the time, being honest. Have you ever said he started it when he didn't start it? Or she started it when she didn't start it? Have you ever said that? I'm actually looking for an answer. Have you ever said he started it when he didn't start it? Okay, I think somebody can get some head nodding right there. Being responsible, being accountable, doing what you say you'll do, being responsible for what you say you'll do. Having respect for yourself and for others. Basically, treat others the way you want to be treated. And here's a motto for you for the rest of your life. When you mess up, fess up. Own up to your own mistakes, no matter how big they might seem, no matter what you might think the consequences are going to be. So that's the first core value, integrity first. Second one is service before self. Now, this one gets a little complicated pretty quickly, but it's a big one for you to just think about during your high school and your middle school years. Service before self is, think about it as a to-do list. You put the most important things at the top of that list. Things that you're responsible for on the top. Even though you want to do something else for yourself. Maybe some of you have animals to feed. Well, you have to feed those animals before you can go out and do whatever it is that you want to do. Some of you high schoolers have smaller, younger siblings, and you want to go do something with your friends after school, but you're responsible for going and picking up other people. That's service before self, putting somebody else before you, even though you want to hang out and do something else. Maybe it means doing your homework before you do something else that you'd rather be doing. So integrity first and service before self. The last one might be the most important way to model your life. It's called excellence in all we do. No matter what you're doing, do it to the best of your abilities, the best way you know how. You should always be striving to look for ways to do things better. Al Davis, I don't know if you know, the Raiders used to be I don't even know anymore. It used to be the Oakland Raiders, then it was the Los Angeles Raiders, now it's, I don't know, Las Vegas Raiders, something like that. Al Davis is the guy that owned them for a very long time. And he had this motto where he said, commit to excellence. That's something we should all try to apply to our lives, that commitment to excellence. Dare to be excellent, dare to do things the best that you can. If every member of this band practiced as hard as they could, held their integrity first, and service before self, and excellence in all they do, we would put this band to Carnegie Hall. How about it? Carnegie? How about the choir, too? I mean, the same thing. You know, if every member of your football team, if every member of your basketball team or volleyball team committed to excellence, man, we would be state champions every year. Not to say that we don't have good teams, man, you guys are very successful. We had a great season, all of you. But where the integrity first and where commitment to excellence really matters the most, especially for where you guys are in your part of life right now, is what matters in our relationships. Being an excellent friend, being excellent for somebody, being there. That means when you have differences with somebody, we don't lash out at other people, we try to work it out. It doesn't mean that we try to get back at them, it means that we try to get back with them. We have excellence in our friendships. We don't try to ruin people's reputation. We don't try to ruin their name. We don't try to mess it up. We go in, like I said earlier, we fess up to what we try to do, what we do in our lives. Being an excellent friend. Now here's the thing, believe it or not, every one of you has a set of core values. A way that you use to make decisions, how you're going to act, how you're going to react, and what you're going to do in life. You have a set of core values. Now here's the thing I want you to hear. There's no getting around this. Here's the deal. You can either choose your core values, or you can have some set of core values choose you. But here's the deal. It's your decision, and it's your active way of going about your life. Thank you again for being here today, taking some time out of your day to listen to some of these speeches. Good job with the younger people. Those are really well said and well spoken. Thank you very much. But now, like my predecessor said a moment ago, may God richly bless you and every one of you. May He be present and active in our homes, schools, and our communities. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, students. Anybody born on the 11th? Anybody's birthday today? Raise your hand if it's your birthday today. Anybody on the 11th? Special day. A special day.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Clayton mentioned 11/11/11. And forever now, you'll remember this day because it was the end of World War I. Clayton, I had some notes to go over a little bit. And you mirrored exactly what you have a future. And Sage, you made your mom cry. I was up here. I had a tear. They have a special family memories with their dad serving as long as he has. And Kurt has been in the National Guard 20-some years. Let's give him a nice round of applause. He's one of our heroes. And I'd like to announce the other heroes that are here today. And every hero has a story. Every veteran has a story. So please, when you get a minute, take the time and ask us some questions. These veterans have some amazing stories. So veterans, when I read your name, please stand. And if the audience would just hold their applause until the end. Dr. Dean Hess, Army. Audrey Jesse, Air Force. Bob Thompson, Air Force. Daniel Sutra, Army. Michael Kraus, Army. Robert Bursall, Army. Matt Krieger, Marines. Vaughn Spalding, Army. Judy Osborne, Navy. Don Osborne, Navy. Lee Hester, Army. Bill Sonnenberg, Army. Dan Gagnon, Army. Richard Markle, Army. Gordon April, Army. Larry Kitson, Air Force. Lou Hobian, Navy. Kevin Bramer, Army. Alan Heckler, Air Force. Robert Wolf, Army. Mike Goodenough, Air Force. Don Bernard, Air Force. Doug Cassell, Army. Jerry Linsmeyer, Army. Bob Metzger, Army. John Betcher, Air Force. Dick Scott, Marines. Butch Morgan, Navy. Sherry Peterson, Air Force. Emil Grove, Army. Leonard Burns, Army. Rick Brummer, Army. Phil Conitson, Army. Tim Cole, Navy. Pastor Gary Olson, Air Force. Jerry Winter, Army. Don Wells, Army. Jeff Senn, Army. Chris Mader, Army. Paul Anderson, Marines. Kurt Warren, Army. These are your veterans from the area of Oconto Falls.